Okay, so this project is not as difficult as it might seem. Use a can of 3M photo mount spray and lightly spray the back of the design. Be sure to do this outside since this spray is a bit noxious and perhaps a bit carcinogenic. Then position the design on your wallpaper. Here I'm using a piece of scrap cardstock. Then you can take your materials inside to begin the cutting. We're set to start cutting. Make sure you start out with a new blade. You want a really sharp blade, especially when you're cutting curves. Do not skimp on this. You might even need to change your blade once or twice while doing this, especially if you're cutting wallpaper. It's now 6:34 on the clock. Let's see how long this takes. This is going a bit slow, so I'm just going to speed this up a little bit. Okay, well, you get the idea. 6:43 now. So it took about 10 minutes or so to cut about a fourth of this. I went a little faster than I would have on an actual project, and wallpaper will be harder to cut than cardstock. So it might take about an hour to an hour and a half to cut the whole design. A little tedious, but not really that tedious compared to this, or this, or this. So everything's all relative. So, now we're ready to peel off the paper. Carefully peel it off. And it's not going as well as I'd hoped. Well, instead of photo mount spray, maybe you should use Repositionable adhesive spray. I've never used that myself, so you might have to do a bit more testing. Or you can just use the other side of this as your front side. The other side looks pretty good. I think the most finicky part will be filling in all the holes with your colored pieces of paper. These are some of my favorite cutting tools. First, of course, the self-healing, self-annealing cutting mat. This is a 12 by 18 inch mat, and it has these grid lines, handy for cutting. And another important tool is this aluminum triangle, or you can have a metal ruler. This is a special little splurge. Don't really need this. My favorite cutting knife is just one of these cheapo dollar store utility knives, I guess. You break it. See, it's not in focus, but you just break the end of this off every time it gets dull and break it off with a pair of pliers. These are usually great for straight cuts when you use the triangle or the straight edge. For curves, I prefer the X-Acto blades with the number 11 blades. This is my preferred X-Acto knife.
And this one is supposed to be supposedly more ergonomic, but I don't really like it that much. Yeah, so I don't really use it. Number 11 brace. And then if you want to store it, in case you lose your little plastic cover that is easy to lose, a tip one of my professors showed me is that you can take this out and put it upside down and then just tighten it so it won't come out. Of course, you still have to be careful that you don't cut yourself here, but at least you won't impale yourself with the tip. And then I usually keep all my little sharps in a little film canister sharps container, but of course, who uses 35mm? So, anyway, right? And this is a gigantic version of my favorite utility knife, and I don't really like it, so I wouldn't recommend this to you. And I think that's it for my favorite cutting tools.